Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of Clinic Gross Secrets. This is your host, Jeff VK, bringing you another special episode today. Actually, the guest I'm about to share with you guys, I've been following since I got into the profession. For those of you that have been following my story, I got into chiropractic as a patient. I'm an engineer by trade. And this gentleman, he was one of the first shows that I started listening to familiarize myself with the industry. And honestly, he shares a wealth of wisdom on his personal podcast. And so, again, before we get into the goods, as you guys know, we got a lot to share today. So when we do share the value, if we make you laugh, if we make you think, if we give you new perspective, we do ask that you share the episode with somebody that would also get value. Okay. In return, we're not going to fill your ears full of bullshit, a bunch of ads of things that we don't use, that we promote, that make you force you to listen to that. We're not going to do that. Okay. The only donation that we ask for is an organic share. Send it to somebody who's going to get value from it. Okay. And joining us today, I have Dr. Kevin Christie. He's the founder of Modern Chiropractic Marketing, and he runs one hell of a podcast himself. Dr. Kevin, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, we're glad to have you here. You share a lot of wealth of wisdom on your podcast. You know, guys, as we get into the conversation today, Kevin has a podcast called Modern Chiropractic Mastery, which he's evolved to be more than just marketing. He talks a wealth about all topics of chiropractic, business growth, philosophy, sales, money, you name it, you can find it on there. And today, we're going to bring him on as the expert of marketing, specifically content marketing. So, Kevin, I'm excited to have you. You want to give everybody a quick backstory. Obviously, it doesn't just go, from, graduation to becoming a master in chiropractic marketing. Walk me through, number one, like, how'd you become a chiropractor in the first
Mhm.
place? What did that look like? And then you also started brick and mortars that you scaled up, which then inevitably led to coaching. So share a little bit about your journey, maybe 90 seconds, just so we can get straight to the goods after that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in my 20th year as a chiropractor, graduated from Logan in '05. I went to Florida State University prior to that as exercise physiology. And I was an athlete, and ultimately that's how I got into chiropractic and knowing that. And, graduated in '05. I worked for someone. I kind of ran I've been through all the processes. I worked for someone for a little bit. That was great. Went into a partnership, then opened up my own. And I've had multiple locations. I've had locations inside of corporations actually as well, which was pretty cool. And so we really just did a lot within growing chiropractic practices. More on the sports chiropractic side of things, was very fortunate to go to the NFL Combine for 12 years in a row. I've worked with about 500 NFL players, and I had this whole kind of second life previous to this marketing world of being more of a sports chiropractor working with athletes. And then I think it was 2013, 2014, I realized I was 3 or 4 years into my own business and I needed to learn about business. I needed to get better at business. And I always owe a debt of gratitude to Strategic Coach, which I'm still a part of. It's an entrepreneur coaching group out of Toronto, Chicago. They're not chiropractic specific. It's just any type of entrepreneurs. And it gave me a new operating system to be an entrepreneur. And there was a strategic byproduct with that where I kind of ran into Joe Polish and Dean Jackson through Strategic Coach Connections, and they have big marketing podcast back then. And so I started listening to it, started applying a lot of the principles to my own practice, and then ultimately in 2016 started a free Facebook group, which is called Modern Chiropractic Marketing, and just started dumping free information in there and didn't monetize it for a couple years, and that's kind of where we're at now. So and still a chiropractor, still part-time chiropractor, still own practice and real estate and all that, but focus a lot now on MCM, the company.
You said something very elegant there that I want to make sure the listeners picked up on. I'm a big Jay Abraham fan, the
Hmm.
business guru space, and he says, sometimes if you want to find the best ideas, you have to go outside of your profession, which is
Yep.
sounds like what you did with Strategic Coast. Real quick, talk to us about the importance of going outside of your profession to find new ideas.
Yeah, and I think especially when you're in the healthcare profession, the walls get very close, and you can't get outside of that, and you're in a prison almost of what the limited thinking is within a particular healthcare profession, and chiropractic is no different. I think we're a little bit better than others as far as entrepreneur thought process. We have to be, but we still, if you just end up, if all you're doing is getting continued ed credits and going to state associations, you're going to find yourself not growing like you should. And that's what I realized and ultimately found Strategic Coach, and it's been really good. So I've been with them for 12 years now, and we'll continue to go. And it's just something that for me, I need that outside perspective of ideas, and then I can synthesize. Okay, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. How do I apply that to the chiropractic practice? And then a lot of times I use my own practice as a test lab to then see if it may work, and then if it does or doesn't, I will let other chiropractors know whether our coaching clients or if it's on my podcast, things like that.
Well, excellent, excellent. Yeah, we've talked about that on this show at different times, man. It's like the so much value to be found in terms of like how do I take an idea from some industry and how can I synergize it into my business, because I'm a
Yeah.
big believer of the Dan Kennedy mindset where it's like it or not, all businesses on a principle level are the same.
Hmm.
So it's like if I have ideas from different spaces, now it's like, okay, they're doing this over here in the real estate space, but they're doing that for acquisition. How do I bring that to me? Like if that's working for
Yeah.
them, it can probably work for me just twisted. So
Mm.
you also mentioned too uh the free Facebook group, which is interesting
Hmm.
because that's how my journey started as well. It was like a free
Hmm.
community. I'll give you a bunch of value and just start networking and building relationships. So you were putting out content in there since like 2016, which then obviously led to the business, modern chiropractic marketing. And now, as we were talking about before the show, you've really mastered the idea of content marketing. And that's really what we want to focus on today. And that's for you guys listening. Obviously, you guys know we talk a lot about paid ads, offers, sales processes, conversions. We haven't talked as much about the importance of content marketing. And that's why I wanted to have Kevin on today because Kevin is going to share with us really how to become a leading educator in the community and with content marketing. So, like, when somebody hears that, because I think a lot of offices, they're like, man, like, I really want to attract patients when they come in. They're already pre-sold. They feel like they know us. We already have a relationship, even at least a parasocial relationship.
Hmm.
Like, how does somebody even begin to like think about content marketing though? Like some doc that's listening,
Hmm.
right? Like, where do we start?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And a little background again, one of the strategic byproducts of following marketers back in 2015, 2016 was the Content Marketing Institute I ran into, and Joe Polizzi had founded that, and so I started going to some of their stuff, and then ultimately, I wrote a book called "Doing It Right: Modern Chiropractic Marketing," and it was published by Parker University, which was exciting, and I broke down like content marketing into like four things, and you've got your destination you got to get to. There's a lot of your planning and positioning you're trying to do. And then you got the GPS, which is going to be your messaging. I think a big resource for people there is, say, Donald Miller's Building a Story brand. Because, you can create random acts of content. It doesn't mean the messaging is going to be right and it's actually going to resonate with the person. So you got to get that messaging correct. And then you got the fuel, which is the actual, content that you're doing, whether it's audio like this, or it's video, or it's written, or it's in person. That's going to be a lot of this types of things that's going to be a fuel to drive your content marketing strategy. And then lastly is the vehicle, right? And that's going to be whether it is Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or email or physical mail. Like there's a lot of delivery systems out there to get that out there. Those are a lot of times are going to be changing. And from a 30,000 foot overview, you got to think of content marketing as getting it's a strategic marketing approach. It's not a campaign, it's not a tactic. It's an actual foundation of what your practice or your business is going to utilize to grow your expertise, to position yourself as the expert, right? And that's going to be very, very important for you to do. And as Joe Polizzi talks about in his book, Epic Content Marketing, you need to do that consistently, right? You got to create and you got to distribute valuable content consistently. I would say what's great about being a chiropractor is that you have a lot of value. You know things. The problem is you hang out with a lot of other chiropractors maybe, and you don't like, oh, maybe like, that doctor's a little smarter than I am or whatever. But in the world of human beings, you're on the very, very tip of the spear on what you know, and you provide a ton of value where a lot of chiropractors fall short is doing that consistently, like getting it out there
Mm.
consistently. And if you do that, that's the whole like cliche, know, like, and trust. Like, how are you going to build know, like, and trust? And really good content marketing done consistently with a clearly defined message that is congruent with a clearly defined audience. You do that a lot, and you will see whatever business you're in, you'll see it grow.
Well said, and I like that you said it's more of like a foundational strategy. It's like SEO on a website. It's the
Mhm.
foundation of it. You know what I mean? Like without that, everything else kind of falls short. And we've seen too, for clarity, guys, because obviously, like a big component of the show is paid ads. We've seen our clients that do have really strong organic content, like before we run ads. A lot of
Mhm.
times we've seen people have really good results with that, because when people are seeing the ad, they're going in the research mode, they land on Dr. Kevin's page. Now all of a sudden you're a real guy in a real place at a real time. You know what I mean? So I think
Yeah.
it really does help add fuel. Now, I guess like the question I have, what I think a lot of docs also have is how do I consistently make content that is unselfish, right? And that
Mhm.
might be a counterintuitive question for some of y'all listening because a lot of people when they think about marketing, they just like get on the phone and they just talk about themselves, right? So
Mhm.
how do we
Mhm.
come up with content, ideas?
Yeah.
Like, where does it like more yeah, the content ideas, where do those flow from? How do we come up with
Mhm.
stuff that's not just like me, me, me?
Yeah. First, I want to come out of the gates with, like you mentioned, not being selfish. Kim Walsh Phillips, who you may know of, she wrote a book actually with Dan Kennedy, who you had mentioned. And she has a whole saying. She was on my podcast and she said, you want your content to be 85% PBS and 15% QVC, right?
Right.
And so 85% PBS, which is free public information, and 15% selling. If you start to flip that or you get those ratios off, it's going to come across wrong. And then, yes, going back to Donald Miller, who I talked about, to kind of answer the second part of your question, is a lot of chiropractors or a lot of people that do marketing do make it about them, right? And so with Donald Miller's framework, he's got 7 characteristics of a story. Number one is the character or the hero. The guide isn't introduced until part 3 of that, right? So if you're going to shoot a video, I can even role play that with you. It's just like the big mistake people make is like, this is the video they shoot. Hi, I'm Dr. Kevin Christie. I'm a Boca Raton chiropractor and I'm certified in X, Y, and Z. And our office is state of the art and chiropractic is the best thing ever, right? That's making it about me. I'm positioning myself as the hero in that story versus the opposite. It would be more like, oh, are you dealing with headaches and you don't want to have pills, drugs, and surgery and you've tried other things? Hi, I'm Dr. Kevin Christie. In this video, I'm going to show you how we can evaluate and treat your headaches, right? So now I started with the character and defined their problem, and then I introduce myself, right? And so you're doing that. So I want to get those two things clear, right? We got to be giving them a lot of information. We got to be 85% PBS, and then we got to make it about them, not about us. Okay. Now, to answer the other part of the question that you had was like, where do you get these ideas? I mean, it's amazing how many ideas you can come up with, but I'll give you 2 strategies. One is we do this audience builder exercise where it's like, I want to know like what are the psychographics of your ideal patient? Like I don't care about the demographics. Yeah, that matters. We'll get that in there, but I want to know like the values, traits, personality types of those people, right? And if you're looking for active lifestyle, health conscious, want natural solutions, okay, where do we find those people? Yeah, they might be at the boutique gyms, they might be at the golf course, they might be playing tennis, right? And then you say, okay, now let's form some groups that I want to target. Okay. And let's just say I've come to, you know what, I want to target yoga people. All right. So that's an audience. Now I'm going to create some content around yoga people. Like, okay, how to prevent low back pain in yoga. Boom, could be a video. 3 great parts of yoga. 3 things you may need to monitor in, yoga moves. And like just you could start creating content there. So that's one, is get clearly defined audience, like I mentioned earlier, and create content that is addressing the pain points. Okay. Secondly, would be is a lot of times a patient will ask me a great question, right? It's like, Doc, why do you think I'm getting these headaches? All right, great. And I go over and I give them what I feel is a good answer. I'll go over and jot down on my Evernote, my computer, is like that could be a topic. I won't mention any patient's name, but I'll shoot a video on I had this great patient ask me about, the difference between headaches and migraines, and this is what we talked about. Boom. And then I rattle off what we said, right? So your patients can be your muse a lot of times, and start thinking about your ideal patients you have into practice, what they're dealing with, and start creating content that would solve those problems of your ideal patients.
Genius. I love that. And so with that, there's a couple of things to unpack. The first is like you can still talk a little bit about yourself, but
Yeah.
we don't lead with it, right? Hook
Correct.
first, problem first, then
Hmm.
why we're here, right?
Yeah.
The next thing is I love that idea of like, hey, I'm having conversations with patients. I'm a big
Hmm.
this is kind of what I do for a lot of our content internally is I'll do the same stuff. I'll have a conversation with somebody and I'll be like, God, that's a good question. You know what I mean? And I
Hmm.
have the answer to that, but that's a really good question. I know everybody else has it too. So I'll keep a log on my phone and just a
Hmm.
notes at all time of just like
Yep.
random like anywhere I'm at, think of an idea, write it down right there. Because you think you're going to remember in an hour. You're not. You know what I mean?
No.
So it's like I think about things like, okay, what's the recent past things that have happened? Recent past for
Hmm.
me in the business, personal, long-term past, questions from patients, questions from outside conversations, you know? So that's genius. Now the other piece of that though, is like, okay, someone's like, I got a great idea, Dr. Kevin. Like I know what I'm gonna shoot today. How do they shoot it? Is it
Hmm.
iPhone? Is it mic'd up? Is it DSLR? Is it these nice Shure
Hmm.
mics that you and I have on the show today? Like
Yeah.
there's a host of ways to do it. What do you think is most appropriate?
Yeah, the good news is you don't need to be an A-list celebrity. We're not expecting you to be Brad Pitt, and
Yep.
B, it doesn't need to be Hollywood studio quality either, right? And sometimes that's necessary. But as a local chiropractor, and again, audience we're talking to right now for content marketing is, say, a local chiropractor. They're not expecting it. They're just expecting to see the authentic you. And yeah, iPhone is perfect. Get a lavalier mic, super cheap off Amazon. And then if you've got decent lighting or natural lighting, that'll help. If not, you can get some lighting that's reasonable also. And then that's really all you need. And you need your space. And then from there, like there's a lot of different types of videos you can shoot. Yeah, you could do talking head video. You could definitely do some assessment videos where you have a dummy patient, get signed agreement on that, whatever.
Sure.
You could show treatment videos. We've seen plenty of those. Maybe you can do some ADL videos, right? Like posture things or ergonomics. I mean, the list goes on with that. You could do demo videos of demonstrating pillows you sell. You could do exercise videos. You could do functional assessment video. There's a lot of things that you do in your office, and that you can do a lot of those types of videos in your practice, and you'll get better. You'll get better.
Dude, if you're so right on that last part, it's like I think people just have to start doing it, you
Hmm.
know. I remember from my video journey, which is not, certainly not Gary V style over here, right? But I started making these videos in LinkedIn when I first started my
Hmm.
business back in like 2018. LinkedIn had crazy organic reach, you know? And it's
Yep.
like, in my opinion, if you don't look back in 5 years and cringe at your first
Hmm.
couple of videos, like that's the
Yeah,
goal, right? But
it
you're
is.
never, I think a lot of people get destroyed by like analysis paralysis or just
Mhm.
fear. They're
Yep.
like, what do I talk about? I don't know. I'm not going to do anything. Or it's like, I know
Yep.
what to talk about, but oh, I'm just so bad on camera
Hmm.
that I don't do
Yep.
anything. And unfortunately, like, it's like that fear that kind of lives in the level of disservice to the patient who you need to reach,
Hmm. Yep.
you know?
Exactly. And like when I started podcasting, the Modern Chiropractic Mastery podcast started in April of 2017, but I actually had one before that called the Modern Desk Jockey, which was I did 80 so episodes, and I started that in late 2015, I believe it was.
Okay.
And I had bought like one of those science boards, those science project boards, and I put it all in there, like the different foam.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be in my condo with that around, and I had a dog who would bark right in the middle when it shouldn't have, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm recording, and I was interviewing some pretty. I interviewed the CEO of Veridesk on that, and like I
Nice.
had these like kind of big people on this Modern Desk Jockey podcast. And little did they know, I'm like I wouldn't put the camera on. I would just do audio. I think I used Zencaster at that point, and And little they know I'm in like huddled up in, in a condo recording my podcast. And then, then we turn this into my studio and all that now. But yeah, you can just get going and to your point of the fear, a great strategic coach concept, which I've taken to heart since I learned it, which is their 4 C's. And essentially, we all have fear. It's those that overcome that are going to be important. But their 4 C's is making the commitment to do something, having the courage to overcome the fear. And when you do that and you do that, you're going to then have a capability. And then if you do that capability long enough, you'll have confidence in it, right? And I think we could all apply that to being a chiropractor, right? When we graduated, we had made the commitment and we had the courage to graduate and come out and start treating our first patient in public. We had a capability, but we weren't confident. And then when you did it long enough, then you develop a confidence. And it's just like anything.
Yeah, man, that's well said. That's well said. It's like it reminds me a little bit of like of the Jeff Bezos mindset where he says stress primarily comes from inaction, not action,
Yeah. Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
it's like what builds confidence. It's like I'm not going to just shout I'm confident over and over. It's going to
Yeah.
be making the commitment, having the courage, having knowing you have the capability, which everyone listening
Mhm.
does, and then just being confident, which is going to take time, but you'll get there.
Yeah.
That's well said. You obviously are a big proponent in like keeping up on, like I mean the modern chiropractic marketing, which we'd be a fool to not at least mention. I know it's the buzzword right now, but let's talk a little bit about how we're leveraging AI in content. I'd love to know what your philosophy is, number one, on like that human AI integration together.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of people think AI is just going to take over the world and do everything for them. I'm kind of more of the thought of like humans are going to need to be involved to kind of lead and guide, and AI is going to be, a big productivity tool. But how are you, seeing the AI change in content
Yeah.
so far?
Yeah. I think the beauty of content marketing is if you do the real like essentials of what content marketing is, a lot of the things can change, right? The technologies can change. If you ask someone that was doing content marketing in 2009, it looked a lot different than it did in 2015 and in 2018, right? Like the some of the technologies can change, the platforms can change and stuff like that. I think with AI is a big one. I think it's definitely a massive change. The way I've kept on digesting AI and learning from people like Peter Diamandis and even within Strategic Coach, we talk a lot about it. It's going to be human plus AI, I think is going to be the secret sauce there. And it's going to be so for instance, I'll give you an example. I don't go into, I use Grok, whatever, pick your poison of AI, but I don't go into Grok and say, hey, write me a blog for my chiropractic website or write me a this or that. I go in and I attach a coaching call that I did or a podcast episode I did or some training I did previously. So it's my information, right? And then I'll say, like recently I did a lesson on this. Is like if you really like your website, right? Like I like my website. I like the messaging. We spent a lot of time getting the messaging right on my website. And so I just took my chiropractic website URL, I put it on Grok and I said, and I didn't do this. I haven't like necessarily used it because I already have this stuff, but I said, develop me a brochure based off my website. Boom, spits it out in like panel one, panel two, inside flap, outside flap, all that. And then I said, okay, now develop me Google ads based off my website. Boom, 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 right in the format that you'd want your Google ad. Develop me an email, like so it's my information. It's just I'm using it to help me, right? I'll give you one more example of something I did recently was that we're doing a live event for MCM and we're collaborating with a few other two other companies. We have 3 different color schemes and logos. So I attached all 3 logos and I said, develop us a new color scheme for our promotional materials based off of this. And then boom, it spit it out and it even gave like like colors have font, like they have like numbers
Like,
associated with that
yeah,
exact.
yep.
It spit it out just like that. I took it,
So
sent it to
cool.
my graphics person, and it's like, hey, develop us a save the date for this. She did give me 4 examples. We chose one. Boom. I like it would have. I would have spent a lot more money on someone to try to figure that out. Instead, I spent $50 for the graphic designer to give me a save the date instead of like $350 for her to help come up with a color scheme as well.
Because you were able to just give her so much context right out of the
Yeah, just gave
gate.
it to her. Yeah.
Yeah, it's genius. Yeah, I love that. I'll return a couple of examples on how we've used it too. So whenever a client joins the CGA program, we obviously it's an intake form. You get information. We learn, but we ask
Hmm.
detailed questions. Like what's the biggest challenge? What are your frustrations? Like very deep, and people give good answers. Because they've already made the commitment to the program and they want you to get to know them. And we'll take a lot of those and then we'll actually like upload it into like these large AI models that we then use to like write things on websites, write blogs, write ads,
Hmm.
So we're building out these kind of large, hyper contextual. We use Claude for a lot of copywriting. Like you said,
Hmm.
kind of pick your poison there. But we'll just upload a huge context document into Claude. And then it's basically just like using your knowledge, write me an ad with this position, write me a blog with this
Hmm.
position. I mean, and to your point, man, like the more context you give, like it is so dialed in for the brand.
Hmm. Yep. It's pretty cool.
It is. It is. And I think that like for those that are maybe listening that haven't done a lot of content marketing, I think like it really like although content's free, the
Hmm.
emotional barrier of it sometimes is like I have to come up with stuff. But it's like now you have a little assistant in your pocket that can at least get your like wheels turning in your head.
Hmm.
And then what I found with AI, and I don't know what you found, but like from like an ad perspective or content perspective, like I found like more success of it being like, hey, I'll write this ad hook with these couple ideas and it'll give me like 10 hooks. Then I'll choose the hook I like. Okay,
Yeah.
now I chose this hook. Now write me a body that goes with the hook. It'll give me a few
Hmm.
more, then I'll choose again. So it's kind of instead of to your point earlier, it's not like just like write me a blog. Sometimes if you iterate it a little bit, it takes 5 minutes longer, but it ends up producing a much better result.
Hmm.
Have you
Yeah,
found
that's why I think human plus AI is better than
so true?
human, and it's better than just AI.
Yeah, very well said. And so what about volume of
Mhm.
content? That might be a question somebody has, right? They're like, hey, like how I mean, there's so many different rules about like how
Yeah.
how much to put
Yeah.
out, how little to put out. Like, what are your thoughts
Mhm.
there after doing it all the
Yeah.
time?
Yeah, and you always got to realize like you're a chiropractor, you're not a chief marketing officer for Coca-Cola, right? So you got to we know you're busy. We know you got things to do and treating patients and things like that. And so it doesn't have to be a lot. And then if you like we one of the services we offer our clients is we actually do their content marketing for them. We train them to shoot 4 videos and we get them to shoot 4 videos in a month that's strategic and send them to us. We do the production and editing and everything, and then we do the distribution for them. But essentially, what we recommend is, and this is what we do for our clients, is okay, let's get a video, maybe a weekly video, so that's 4 in a month. Get it onto YouTube. We want to do that. We're not going to turn you into a YouTube celebrity. If that happens, great, but assume that's not going to be you. I
Hmm.
think that's the one thing we got to get across to a lot of chiropractors is like doing content marketing and not being an influencer, you're still going to get a lot of benefits of it, right? And
No
so
doubt.
you're going to get this total web presence for your practice, and you're going to I'll give you another good Dan Kennedy quote I love is you got to put a fence around your cattle, right? And so the fence is the content. You're getting content out there and you're putting fence around the cattle, which is your patient base or your community. And it can be a little bit of a crude analogy, but that's Dan Kennedy, right?
Amen,
And
brother. Amen. That's right.
but it's a great one. And so we're trying to do that and getting the content out there. So yeah, you take that YouTube video, then you post it on your Google business profile, which you can post now on there, which I know you know that. And then we want to have a weekly email. So we take the video, we're able to get copy from the video, a compelling copy to turn into a weekly email for you. Post on Facebook, Instagram. I would say do that 3 or 4 times a week for each of those would be really good. And then get content on your website, right? We definitely like blogs and videos and get that on there. You mentioned earlier SEO and website. One of the keys to that is making your website a content platform, this living, breathing thing, not just an online business card. And so if you start to do that, but you can really just like what we do is we just have our clients shoot 4 videos. That's all they got to do. And then we do everything else, right? So it doesn't have to be, oh, okay, I got to shoot 4 videos and then I have to write 4 different blogs and I have to write 4 different
Right.
emails. I got to write 4 different Facebook posts. It can just be distributed differently, similar content or different variations of that content, but stemming from that core 4 videos or however many you shoot.
Yeah, 100%. And the core four, are those like would you say that those are longer form or are they fairly
Yeah,
short?
typic I mean, about 2 to 3 minutes, right?
Oh,
And
that's
so
not bad at all.
yeah, we're keeping them short.
Smart.
That's the tricky part. Obviously, YouTube is a little bit longer format, Facebook a little bit shorter, obviously Instagram a lot shorter, TikTok a lot shorter. But then I'll give you another AI nugget there is you can take a 4 minute video, right? And you can run it through Opus Clip, which is an AI software, and you can tell it to spit out Instagram Reels for you. And it spits out different chunks of obviously less than 90-second videos with transcript and everything on there. And now you've got IG Reel length videos.
Yeah, super smart. I love that, man. I heard good things about Opus Clip. I haven't tried that one out, but
Mhm.
that'll be my homework on today's session. Um, So within yourself, I want to make sure we talk a little bit. You help deeply with these ideas. Obviously, I had you on the show today to like share some free value. You guys help immensely with this inside of we call it the MCM, if you abbreviate
Mhm.
it, Master Chiropractic Marketing. You want to just share maybe a little shameless plug for yourself about how you guys come into a business and help people
Mhm.
out, just to make sure that if people like want to chat deeper, they at least know
Mhm.
what they're getting into.
Yeah, I think, I'm proud of our core offering. We have different things, but our core offering for people is it's actually a blend of coaching and content marketing, right? So we coach on all kinds of things, finances and business and communication, all the things, right, to help grow a practice. A lot of different things. We do a weekly, coaching call, and we really dive into us a lot to grow a practice. But then, yeah, we part of that program is you shoot 4 videos and get it to our team. You get assigned a marketing assistant that does all this for you. And so we kind of plug our team onto yours. And so that's our real core product, which I'm very proud of for people. So that way all they can do is shoot 4 videos. They can learn about how to grow in their practice. And then they've got this content distribution machine happening for them in the background. And I think one of the key parts of the content marketing that I haven't mentioned, and I don't want to miss this, is that getting content in front of your current and past patients is so huge, right? Even if you don't get, you want to do this, but even if you weren't getting new patients from your content marketing, again, you want that. But even if you weren't, but if you were consistently getting content to people that have been in your practice already, currently or in the past, that's going to drive so many more reactivations and actually more referrals too, because they're not going to forget about you. And I think that's the key to content marketing is never letting your current and past patients forget about you. And so that's our big thing that I love about what we're doing.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Very valuable too, because I think it creates a lot of leverage for the people that, are able to take advantage of your offer because they know they need to do it, but they just don't necessarily have the bandwidth. Like you kind of said earlier, like, you're not the A-list celebrity, you're not running the marketing channel, like
Mhm.
you're being the provider, right? But
Yeah.
you know it's important. So like you guys can come in, give advice, excuse me, on what to say and how to do it, and then you guys take care of the
Mhm.
rest.
Yeah, it's the strategic coach who not how concept, right?
That's
And we
right.
always want people to delegate out to ads folks. Like we have chiropractors where they have us and they have someone doing their ads because we don't do any of that type of stuff. But then one of the strategies they'll layer on, which I love, is they'll have an ads folks like yourself do this, but they'll take the content, the videos, and then say, hey, upload my email list into a Facebook audience. And now, just for you, I know you know this, but for your members, is like if you had an email list of 4,000 patients and you can actually upload that into Facebook, and anybody that has that, your patients that have that email address affiliated with that Facebook account will now go into a group. And so let's say 2,500 of your 4,000 have a Facebook account associated with that email. You now have an audience of 2,500 people within Facebook, and you can just target them in a strategy. And so maybe you sprinkle $400 a month into ad spend specifically to take the videos that we've done or you've done and retarget your patient base. So now Mary's opening up Facebook, seeing your educational content. She hasn't been in your practice in a year, but now she's seeing your stuff. Higher chance of her reactivating a patient, higher chance of when her husband complains of a headache,
That's
she
right.
doesn't forget about you and sends him in to go, oh, you got to go see Kevin, right? So love pairing up with other entities that are helping. I'll give my last analogy here, but I just love it is like you want to put this scaffolding around your business, right, to help it grow. And
Mhm.
that scaffolding is put around your business to grow it. And then certain times you may say, okay, we can remove that scaffolding now. Some you want to always keep, but that's basically the way you got to look at this. Don't do it yourself, all of it.
Yeah, for sure. It gets intimidating like that too. Now that's a very smart strategy though, and like from a paid ad standpoint, if you had all that content and you're reaching your list, even like you said, if it's 2,500 people, it's like, dude, you could run that straight as a reach campaign, literally reach
Mhm.
those people for cents on the dollar. Frequency would be like 7 to 10 very quickly. Like people would remember Dr. Kevin with a strategy like that.
Mhm.
So very well said. A good way to mesh a little content and paid ads. So before we finish here, I ask everyone at the end of the show kind of like an advice to their younger self question. But I'm going to change the question a little bit today for you, just because I've been following you for a long time and I want to just twist it and I think it'll be more valuable.
Mhm.
So here's my final question for you, Kevin. If all of your content online, all of your resources, all of your ideas you've ever created were erased from the internet forever, what's
Mhm.
the single best advice you would share with somebody listening in the next 60 seconds?
Yeah, I would get back to what I did when I first started in '05. The content I would create would be in the community. I would be doing public speaking, I would be doing workshops, I would be getting in and doing that to get the quick win, right? And then I would get my sea legs under me and I'd get back to my content marketing strategies and doing that. I would probably do it concurrently, but I would be hitting the ground. I think I just don't want people to think they can build a practice from scratch just behind sitting behind their computer doing content. Like it helps, but you got to get out meeting people. You got to be a leading expert in the community face to face sometimes. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
It's what I did originally.
Hey, that's exactly it. I mean, it's a wise fisherman, brother. It's like
Yeah.
the wise fisherman. What does he do? He posts content. He goes to
Mhm.
networking events. He goes to he runs paid ads. He does SEO. He runs Google ads. Just by having more poles in the water, which we preach.
Yeah.
It's like everything works. It's just a matter of just like finding your couple that just are so consistent for your business.
Yep.
So very
Yep.
well said. If people want to connect with you, talk a little bit more about MCM, and yeah, possibly see if you can help them out. What's a good place to connect with you, Kevin?
Yeah, I invite you to listen to my podcast. It's a weekly show. We haven't missed a Thursday since we started 8.5 years ago. So I'm
Nice,
proud of
dude.
that. Going back
Consistent.
to consistency, right? And yeah, listen to that, Modern Chiropractic Mastery. If you want to check out more about our programs, you can go to modernchiropracticmarketing.com. We got a bunch of stuff on there.
Excellent, guys. Well, we'll make sure to link those as usual in the show notes. You want to check Kevin and his workouts, please feel free to do so. He's got a host of knowledge goes much deeper than the episode today. He's also got a great team behind him that can certainly be of service to you and your needs. So, Dr. Kevin, appreciate you being here, my friend.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely, guys. And if you got value, remember, pay it forward, share it forward. We grow organically off word of mouth, no paid ads. We don't ask for donations. We just ask that if you got value, send it forward. And if so, we appreciate you, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode of Clinic Grow Secrets. Cheers.